myself a real good time. I feel alive, and the world I'm turning inside out. Yeah, I'm floating around in ecstasy. So don't stop me now. Don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time, having a good time. I'm a shooting star leaping through the sky like a tiger, defying the laws of gravity. I'm a racing car passing by like Lady Godiva. I'm gonna go, go, go. There's no stopping me. I'm burning through the sky, yeah. 200 degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic man out of you. Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. If you wanna have a good time, just give me a call. Don't stop me 'cause now. I'm having a good time. Don't stop me yes, now. I'm having a good time. I don't wanna stop at all. Yeah. I'm a rocket ship on my way to Mars on a collision course. I am a satellite. I'm out of control. I'm a sex machine ready to reload like an atom bomb about to explode. I'm burning through the sky, yeah. 200 degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic woman of you. Don't stop me, don't stop me, don't stop me. Hey, hey, hey! Don't stop me, don't stop me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Don't stop me, don't stop me. Have a good time, good time. Don't stop me, don't stop me. Oh! Burning through the sky, 200 degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic man out of you. Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. If you wanna have a good time, just give me a call. Don't stop me now. I'm having a good time. Don't stop yes, I'm having a good time. I don't wanna stop at all. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da.
but I know firsthand how much is at stake for our community in this election. If you care about racial justice like me, I need you to vote. If you believe in science, and I can't believe this is still a thing in 2020, I need you to vote. If you believe healthcare is a right for everyone, like Joe Biden does, I need you to vote. Now, like I said, I'm just 17, and although I am pre-registered, I can't vote in this election. But to my peers and to the other young people out there, that doesn't mean we can't play a part in this election. Maybe you can drive your grandparents to vote. Maybe you can convince your cousin who thinks politics doesn't matter to vote. You can make a difference. Miami, I can't vote yet, but I need you to vote early for me. Every vote for Joe and Kamala is a vote to make college more affordable. It's a vote to make sure everyone has health care. It's a vote to beat this virus and get our lives back to normal. Miami, we have to vote. Voting is easy and convenient this year, and we cannot sit this one out. We can change the direction of this country on every issue that matters to us. That's the power of our vote. This year, having a plan to vote early has never been more important to me. And personally, I'm tired of having a president who spends more time on Twitter than I do. So I want everyone to listen very carefully to our next speaker, someone who gives me hope, someone who inspires me to get up, go out and make a difference, to make a change. The 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama.
Can everybody please give it up for George? What an outstanding young man. He is the #1 senior at Miami Northwestern with a perfect GPA. Let me just say that when I was George's age, I did not have a perfect GPA. What a remarkable young man. We're so proud of him. That's the future. Give it up for your representative, Frederica Wilson. We've also got Debbie Mukasel Powell, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and your state agricultural commissioner, Nikki Freed. They're in the house. You got that horn honking good. So, 10 days, Miami. 10 days until the most important election in our lifetimes. But the good news is you don't have to wait for November 3rd to cast your ballot. You've got 2 ways to vote right now. #1, you can vote early in person right now through next Sunday. #2, you can vote from home with a mail-in ballot. Do not wait. Put it in the mail today or drop it off at a drop box location in Miami-Dade County. And if you need more information, just go to iwillvote.com to find out where to early vote in person or to drop off your ballot. And if you've already voted, what do you need to do? You've got to go help your friends and family make a plan to vote. Because this election requires every single one of us. What we do in these next 10 days will matter for decades to come. Now, I've sat in the Oval Office with both of the men who are running for president. They're very different people. You know, Donald Trump, I knew he would not embrace my vision. I knew he wasn't going to continue my policies, but I did hope that for the country's sake, he'd show at least a little bit of interest in taking the job seriously. That's not how it worked out. He hasn't shown any interest in doing the work or helping anybody except himself and his friends, or treating the presidency like a reality show to give himself more attention. And as we noted the other day, his TV ratings are down. But listen, Miami, the rest of us have to live with the consequences of what he's done. At least 220,000 Americans are dead. More than 100,000 small businesses have closed. 500,000 jobs are gone right here in Florida. 500,000 jobs. And I understand the president's coming to Florida today. You think he's hard at work coming up with a plan to get us out of this mess? Well, I don't know, because I know he's had a tough week. Everybody's been very unfair to Donald Trump this week. In his debate with Joe on Thursday night, and by the way, I thought Joe Biden was unbelievable this week. He was fantastic this week. But during the debate, Trump was asked, what is your plan for the new phase of COVID? Which is a pretty good question, considering that we just saw the highest number of cases spike up yesterday. So you'd think he'd be ready for a response. Instead, he just said it wasn't his fault and he didn't have one. He said it's now gone in a bunch of states, just as states are reaching new record highs nationwide. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't even acknowledge the reality of what's taking place all across the country. And it gets better, because he also sat down with 60 Minutes. He was asked, what's your priority in your second term? And let me say, I've run for president in Miami, so I just want you to know it's a good idea to have an answer to this question. It's a good idea, if you're running for re-election, to say, here's what I want to accomplish. What did Trump say? He got mad and walked out of the interview. He thought the questions were too tough. Too tough. Miami, listen, if he can't answer a tough question like, what would you like to do in your second term? Then it's our job to make sure he doesn't get a second term. And that's why, over the next 10 days, we got to work hard to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the next president and vice president of the United States. I love the creative honking. It's fantastic. Now listen, you delivered twice for me, Florida, and now I'm asking you to deliver for Joe and deliver for Kamala. 12 years ago, when I chose a vice president, I didn't know Joe that well. We served in the Senate together, but we come from different places. We're part of different generations. But I quickly came to admire and love Joe as a man who early on learned to treat everybody with dignity and respect. Somebody who lives by the words his parents taught him. Nobody's better than you, Joe, but you're better than nobody. And that sense of empathy, that sense of decency, the belief that every single person counts, that's who Joe is. That's who he'll be. And I can tell you, the presidency doesn't change who you are. It just reveals who you are. It amplifies who you are. And for 8 years, I saw Joe up close. He was the last one in the room whenever I faced a big decision. He made me a better president. He's got the character and experience to make us a better country. And he and Kamala are going to be in the fight not for themselves, but for every single one of us. And that's what you need right now, somebody who cares about you and is thinking about you. Listen, I understand that the president, he wants full credit for the economy he inherited and zero blame for the pandemic that he ignored. As a general rule, this is not a person who likes to take responsibility for anything. But you know, the job doesn't work that way. Just like George said, tweeting on television doesn't fix things. Inventing conspiracies don't make people's lives better. You've got to have a plan. You've got to do the work. And along with the experience of getting things done, Joe Biden has concrete plans and policies that are going to turn our vision of a better, fairer, stronger country into reality. We literally left this White House a pandemic playbook that showed them how to respond before a virus reached our shores. It must be lost along with the Republican health care plan. We can't find it. 8 months into this pandemic, 8 months into this pandemic, new cases are breaking records. Donald Trump isn't going to suddenly protect all of us. He can't even take the basic steps to protect himself. There's no sense that he's coming up with a new approach, with a new plan. He doesn't even acknowledge that there's a problem. Just this week, he complained that the pandemic was making him go back to work. If he had been working in the first place, we would never have seen the situation get this bad. Listen, I have said this before. I am going to say it again. This pandemic would have been tough for any president because we haven't seen something like this in 100 years. But the idea that somehow this White House has done anything but completely screw this thing up is nonsense. We can compare what happened in other countries to what happened in this one. So South Korea identified its first case at the same time as the U.S. got its first case. Their per capita death toll, what that means is the number of people that die, let's say out of 100 people, how many people die? Their death toll is 1.3% of what ours is. Nowhere near the number of people have died in South Korea because their government took care of business. Closer to home, Canada, their per capita death rate's just 39% of what ours is. Their government, faced with a difficult situation, same pandemic, they said, let's take the steps to minimize the damage and the harm to ordinary people, and they saved lives. So we can compare directly what happened in the United States and what happened somewhere else. What happens when a government is paying attention and what happens when a government is not. And then earlier this week, when the president was asked, would you do anything differently? Anything. He said, not much. Not much. I mean, he couldn't even acknowledge that maybe we should have taken some steps earlier to start testing people. Maybe we should have taken it more seriously and not pretended like it didn't exist. Maybe we shouldn't have had the president get on television and say that if you put some bleach in you, that might clean things out. Just maybe that might have made a difference. And the mismanagement would be comical and ridiculous if it didn't mean people losing lives. If it didn't mean the economy not recovering. And the pandemic has hit African Americans and Latinos harder than anybody in Florida. I'll bet you can think of some things you would have liked to see the government done differently. So just a baseline is that Joe and Kamala take this seriously. Joe understands how much it hurts for grandparents to not be able to see their grandkids or hug each other. They understand that you can't effectively get the economy moving again as long as people are afraid of getting a disease. He's not going to screw up testing. He's not going to call scientists idiots. He's not going to host a super spreader event at the White House the way this current president did. So Joe is going to get this pandemic under control with a plan that makes testing free and widely available, which we should have been doing months ago. He's going to get a vaccine to every American cost-free, and he's going to make sure that our frontline heroes never have to ask other countries for the equipment that they need to keep themselves safe while they're taking care of us. His plan will guarantee paid sick leave for workers and parents affected by the pandemic. And he's going to make sure that the small businesses that hold our communities together and employ millions of Americans can reopen safely. Now, Donald Trump likes to claim he built this economy. Some people actually give him credit for it. Listen, America created 1.5 million more jobs in the last year of the Obama-Biden administration than in the first 3 years of the Trump-Pence administration. So unemployment was steadily going down during the Obama-Biden presidency, and then he gets elected and it keeps on going down, and suddenly he says, look what I did. Their first 3 years fell short of our last three. And that was before he could blame the pandemic. He did inherit the longest streak of job growth in American history that we got started. But just like everything else he inherited, he fumbled it. The economic damage he inflicted by botching the pandemic response means that Donald Trump will be the first president since Herbert Hoover to actually lose jobs. And you know, he loves talking about black unemployment. Says he's the best president for black folks since Abe Lincoln. What? Listen. Black unemployment almost hit 17% during the Great Recession 10 years ago, and through a lot of hard work, Joe and I helped get it down to 7.8 by the time we left office, and it just kept on going down like all the other employment rate was going down. Not because Donald Trump did anything. This year, it went way up, back to 17% right here in Florida. And he hasn't had an answer for it. The only people truly better off than they were 4 years ago are the billionaires who got Trump tax cuts. And meanwhile, he won't even extend relief to the millions of families who can't pay the rent or put food on the table in this pandemic. And the fact that he can't make that happen, that he won't make that happen, it's hard to understand because it's not like it's his money. he barely pays income taxes. He had no problem paying a ton of money in taxes to China from his secret Chinese bank account. Hold up a second. Let me just see a show of hands. How many people here have secret Chinese bank accounts? Who's got a secret Chinese bank account? His first year in the White House, he only paid $750 in federal income tax. You got secretaries, you've got construction workers, you've got healthcare workers, nurses who pay a lot more in income taxes than that. Listen, I'm not saying that like on tax day I'm just so happy about all the taxes I'm paying, but I pay more than 40 cents on every dollar I earn. So does Michelle. And we do it proudly because what I know is that this country has blessed me, and that I want to make sure that folks like George can get a scholarship to go to college. I want to make sure that a senior is properly taken care of. I want to make sure that we're repairing roads and bridges and helping folks who need help, and that our veterans are getting the disability rights that they have earned. I'm proud to contribute and to give back because I believe we're all in this together as Americans, as one American family. But apparently that's not how this man thinks. He thinks that's for suckers, I guess. But you know what? That's not how we built this country. We built this country by looking out for one another and believing in one another. And that's what Joe Biden believes. Joe Biden's got a plan to create 10 million good jobs in the energy sector, in the clean energy sector, right here in America. And it's part of his plan to protect Florida from climate change and secure environmental justice. And he'll pay for it by rolling back Trump's tax cuts for billionaires. And Joe sees this as a moment, not as a chance to get back to where we were, but to finally make some of the long overdue changes so that our economy actually makes life a little easier for everybody. For the waitress trying to raise her kid on her own. For the student figuring out how to pay for next semester's classes. For the ship worker who's worried about getting laid off. For the cancer survivor who's worried that her pre-existing condition protections will be taken away. Let's talk about health care for a second. Because I know that George and I share something. We lost our mothers at a way too early age. Republicans love to say right before an election that they'll protect your pre-existing conditions. Now listen, Joe and I actually protected them 10 years ago with the Affordable Care Act, which made sure that anybody with a pre-existing condition could get health insurance. It protected everybody. It protected folks who already had health insurance. It protected folks who might have to buy health insurance in the future. Hispanics saw the biggest gains in coverage of anybody. Almost 93% of Hispanic kids got covered, an all-time high. And yet, under this administration, Hispanic kids have lost coverage. And throughout this process, when we were getting folks health care, Republicans fought us every step of the way. They've tried to repeal or undermine the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, more than 60 times. And when they're asked about it, they say, well, look, we're going to have a great replacement. It's coming. It's going to be there in 2 weeks. It's been 10 years now. Every 2 weeks they say they've got a replacement, and they haven't come up with nothing. They've never had a replacement. I promise you, I've asked. I asked back when I was president. I said, show me your replacement, and we can talk. Nothing. Nada. Zero. Zilch. Goose egg. The reason they don't show you their plan to actually provide people protections when it comes to pre-existing conditions is because they don't have one, and they never have. And that's just a fact. And instead of just fessing up that they don't want people to have health insurance, they've attacked the Affordable Care Act at every turn. They've drove up costs. They're driving up the uninsured. Now they're trying to get the Supreme Court to take away your health care as we speak, in the middle of a pandemic, with nothing but empty promises to take its place. Why would you want to take people's health insurance just at the very moment when people need health insurance the most? What's the rationale of that? And think about what that would do to families right here. Miami-Dade has the highest enrollment of any county in Florida. Florida has the highest enrollment of any state in America. Nobody has a bigger stake in making sure those protections stay in place than folks right here in Florida. Just this week, Trump flat out said he hopes the Supreme Court takes your health insurance away. Said it out loud. Miami, Joe and Kamala will protect your health care. They will expand Medicare. They will sign up more folks on Medicaid and make insurance more affordable for everybody. That's what they stand for, and that's why you've got to get out there and vote. Joe understands that the first job of a president is to keep us safe from all threats, domestic, foreign, and microscopic. When the daily intelligence briefings are flashing warning lights about a virus, the president can't be AWOL. When Russia puts bounties on the heads of our brave soldiers in Afghanistan, the commander-in-chief can't be MIA. He can't be somebody who doesn't read the briefings. Joe Biden would never call the men and women of our military suckers and losers. He knows those troops are somebody's husbands, somebody's wife, somebody's kids, somebody's spouse, somebody's father. And when a hurricane devastates Puerto Rico, a president's supposed to help it rebuild, not toss paper towels, withhold billions of dollars in aid until just before an election. We've got a president who actually suggested selling Puerto Rico. Now, believe it or not, it could have been worse. He once asked our national security officials if he could nuke hurricanes. I mean, at least he didn't do that. A nuclear hurricane seems like it would have been bad. I mean, it'd be funny if it wasn't. Look, some of the rhetoric you're hearing down here in South Florida, it's just made up. It's just nonsense. Listening to the Republicans, you think Joe was more communist than the Castros. Don't fall for that garbage. Don't fall for that okey doke. Joe Biden is not a socialist. He was a senator from Delaware. He was my vice president. I think folks would know if he was a secret socialist by now. What is true is he'll stand up for ordinary people. What is true is he'll stand up for workers. What is true is he'll stand up for a higher minimum wage. What is true is he'll stand up for affordable housing. What is true is he'll go promote human rights in Cuba and around the world, and he won't coddle dictators the way our current president does. And let me tell you something else about Joe Biden. Joe Biden's tough. You know, something that you can't really say about this president. He likes to act tough and talk tough. He thinks scowling and being mean is tough and being rude is tough, but when 60 Minutes and Leslie Stahl are too tough for you, you ain't all that tough. If you got to walk out of a 60 Minutes interview, then you're never going to stand up to a dictator. If you're spending all your time complaining about how mean reporters are to you, you're not going to stand up to Putin. Joe Biden will restore our battered standing in the world because he knows that our true strength comes from setting an example that the world wants to follow. A nation that stands with democracy, not dictators. A nation that can inspire and mobilize others to overcome threats like climate change and terrorism and poverty and disease. And here's another thing. With Joe and Kamala at the helm, you won't have to think about them every single day. There might be a whole day where they don't be on TV. There might be a whole day where they don't tweet some craziness. You won't have to argue about them every day. It won't be so exhausting. Just having a normal president. You'll be able to go about your lives knowing that the president's not going to suggest injecting bleach or retweet conspiracy theories about secret cabals running the world or claiming that, or retweeting that the claim that Navy SEALs didn't actually kill bin Laden. We're not going to have a president that goes out of his way to insult anybody who he doesn't think is nice enough to him. We won't have a president who threatens people with jail for just criticizing him. That's not normal behavior, Florida. You wouldn't tolerate it from a coworker. You wouldn't tolerate it from a high school principal. You wouldn't tolerate it from a coach. You wouldn't tolerate it from a family member. Florida man wouldn't even do this stuff. Why are we accepting it from the President of the United States? It's not normal behavior. And you shake your head and you think, well, you know what, that's just him. But there are consequences to this. There are consequences when a president behaves that way. It emboldens others to be mean and cruel and divisive and racist. When you have a president who cannot call out or even criticize white supremacists, that's a problem. That sends a bad message. It frays the fabric of all of our lives. It affects the way our children see things. It affects the way that our families get along. It affects the way the world looks at America. And in the meantime, it distracts us from the truly destructive actions that the cronies he's placed all across the government are taking, actions that are affecting your lives every single day, even when it's not reported on, even when you're not paying attention to it. The Environmental Protection Agency that's supposed to protect our air and water, that's run right now by an energy lobbyist that's giving polluters free rein to dump unlimited poison into our air and water. The Labor Department that's supposed to protect workers right now is run by a corporate lobbyist who's declared war on workers, guts protections to keep essential folks safe during a pandemic, makes it easier for big corporations to shortchange them on their wages. The Interior Department that's supposed to protect our public lands and wild spaces and wildlife for future generations right now is run by an oil lobbyist who's just fine selling that American treasure off to the highest bidder. The education department that's supposed to give every kid a chance. Young, amazing young people like Georgia. Right now, that's run by a billionaire who's gutted the rules designed to protect students from getting ripped off by for-profit colleges and stiff-armed students looking for loan relief in the middle of an economic collapse. The person who's running Medicaid right now is not trying to sign up more people for Medicaid to help them out. They're trying to kick them off of Medicaid so that they've got to fend for themselves at the very moment that they need protection the most. So here's the thing. When Joe and Kamala are in charge, they're not going to surround themselves with hacks and lobbyists. They're going to surround themselves with qualified public servants who actually care about looking for you, who are going to work hard to make sure that you've got a job that pays a living wage and that your family is protected and your health is protected and you've got some security and that we're protecting our planet. And that, more than anything, is what separates them from their opponents. They actually care about every American, even the ones who aren't going to be voting for them. And they're going to be in the fight on your behalf every single day. They care about you and they care about our democracy deeply. They believe that in a democracy, the right to vote is sacred. We shouldn't be making it harder for people to vote. We shouldn't ask people to wait 10 hours to vote standing in line. We should be making it easier for everybody to cast their ballot. Joe and Kamala believe that no one, especially the president, is above the law. They understand the protest isn't un-American. Our country was founded on protest against injustice. And they understand we don't threaten to throw our political opponents in jail just because we disagree with them. We don't call them un-American just because they're of another political party. Joe and Kamala understand that our ability to work together to solve big problems, like pandemic, depends on more than just photo ops. It depends on more than just spin or making stuff up. It depends on a fidelity to science and logic and facts. And these are not Republican or Democratic values, Florida. These are American values. This is what we learned from our parents and our grandparents. They're not black or white or Hispanic or Asian or Native American values. They're American values. And we have to reclaim them. We can't just say, oh, it's fine if a president lies 50 times a day. No. My mother would whoop me if I was lying once a day, once a week. These are American values that we have to reclaim, and in order to do that, we are going to have to turn out like never before. We have to leave no doubt, Florida. We can't afford to be complacent. We can't afford to sit back and wait for somebody else to do it. It's on us. In this election, at this moment, we all have to do our part. And I understand why there are Americans who get frustrated by government, who sometimes feel that it doesn't make enough of a difference. And I'm the first one to admit, government's not going to solve every problem. Government's never going to be perfect. And in a country that right now is somewhat divided, you know, there are going to be times where we don't get everything we want, even when we have folks in power that support what we care about. You know, I've got experience firsthand watching how Republicans in Congress abuse the rules to make it easy for special interests to stop progress. But just because government's not perfect doesn't mean we can't make it better. And we sure can stop it getting worse. A president by himself can't solve every challenge of the global economy, but if we elect a House and a Senate and a State House and a State Senate that are focused on working people and getting you the help you need, it can make a difference and put millions of people back to work. A president by himself can't eliminate all racial bias in our criminal justice system, but if we elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and also at the local level, district attorneys and state's attorneys and sheriffs that are focused on equality and justice, we can make things better. That's what voting is about, not making things perfect, but making things better, putting us on track, getting the ball rolling, so that we can look back years from now and say, you know what, that was the moment when we turned the corner. That was the time when we started bringing the country together. That was when we once again began to move together to create a better future for our children and our grandchildren. But it's got to start now. Voting is about using the power we have and pooling it together to get a government that's more concerned, more responsive, more focused on you. And if we don't get 100%, we just get 50% of what we want, then that's good. And then we keep on going, we vote some more. And we get more done. And that's how progress is made. And when I hear folks say, well, voting doesn't make a difference, because I voted last time, and look, listen, we've never come close to seeing what it would be like if everybody actually voted. In 2008, that was the highest vote totals in recent elections, in modern presidential era. When I was running, we had the highest voting rates that we've seen. You know how many people out of the eligible folks who could vote voted? 61%. That was the highest. That means 39% of folks who were eligible to vote did not vote. Imagine if 65% of people voted. Imagine if 70% of people voted. Because the folks who tend not to vote, a lot of times it's black folks and brown folks and poor folks and young folks and women. So imagine if all those folks actually turned out to vote. And imagine January 20th, when we swear in a president and a vice president who have a plan to get us out of this mess, who believe in science, who got a plan to protect this planet for our kids, who care about working Americans, who are thinking about you. A president and a vice president who believe in racial equality and are willing to do the work to bring us closer together, to bring us closer to the ideal where no matter what you look like or where you come from or who you love or how much money you got, you can still make it if you try. And you still get justice before the law. All that is possible. All that's within our reach. For all the times over the last 4 years that we've seen our worst impulses revealed, we've also seen what's best in our country. People ask me, they said, how have you been putting up with watching your successor do all this stuff? I say, yeah, it can be frustrating. I don't watch a lot of TV. But you know, what I tell people is, what I've also seen is folks of every age and background, packed city centers and airports and town squares, just so that families wouldn't be separated. Or just so another classroom wouldn't get shot up. Or just so we can make sure our kids don't grow up in an uninhabitable planet. We've seen amazing essential workers and healthcare workers risk their lives day in, day out to help somebody, to save somebody else's loved ones. We've seen people contribute and volunteer for those who are especially having a difficult time right now. We've seen Americans of all races joining together to declare, in the face of injustice and brutality that Black Lives Matter. No more, but no less. To proclaim that no child in this country should ever feel the continuing sting of racism. We've seen young people like George, who introduced me, ask us, do we not breathe the same air? Do we not bleed the same blood? Do we not deserve safety, belonging, and mattering? That's true in Miami, and it's true all across the country. I know this has been a tough and sometimes discouraging time, but I'm here to report to you, America's a good and decent place. We've just seen so much noise and nonsense, sometimes it's hard for us to remember. But I've been all across this country. I've been all across this state. There are a lot of good people here. There are a lot of folks who share the values of looking out for one another and doing right by one another. And we've just got to make sure that our politics reflects that. And we do that by voting. Miami, I'm asking you to remember what this country can be. I'm asking you to believe in Joe's ability and Kamala's ability to lead this country out of these dark times and help us build it back better. We can't abandon the Americans who are hurting right now. We can't abandon the kids who aren't getting the education they need right now. We can't abandon those protesters who inspired us this summer. We got to channel their activism into action. We can't just talk. We can't just imagine a better future. We've got to go out there and fight for it. We got to out-hustle the other side. We got to vote like never before, and we've got to leave no doubt. So make a plan right now for how you're going to get involved and vote. Do it as early as you can. Tell your family and friends how they can vote too. Don't stop with Joe and Kamala. Make sure you vote all the way down the ticket. And if we pour all our efforts into these 10 days, if we vote up and down the ticket like never before, we will elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And we will leave no doubt about what this country we love stands for and what we believe in and who we are as a people. So let's get to work, Florida. Let's bring this home. I love you, Miami. Honk if you're fired up. Honk if you're ready to go. Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? Let's make this happen. Thank you, everybody. God bless.
Good afternoon, everyone. As another reminder, we please kindly ask everyone to enjoy the remainder of the programming from their cars. We cannot continue while this many folks are outside of their cars and not practicing appropriate social distancing. We ask everyone to take the health of themselves and that of their neighbor seriously, and please return to their vehicle. Programming can be heard on your FM radio at the stations listed on the slide on the screen. Thank you so much for your compliance. We'll be resumed shortly.
Keep going till
I spent the bulk of my adult life driving to the Amtrak station. I commuted every day from Wilmington, Delaware to Washington, D.C. I'd get to know the train engineers, the conductors, the fellow passengers. How many miles I've traveled on Amtrak? Over 2,100,000 miles. I took the train every day. The Senate was in session for 36 years.
The hearing will come to order.
And at night I'd see the pinpoints of lights on the homes in the cities and towns. Can these parents look their kids in the eye and say, honey, everything's going to be okay?
The Bidens will launch a train tour.
An Amtrak train Biden Build Back Better train tour.
And welcome back to Ohio, Joe Biden.
It's been so hard on our kids with their dad being 8 hours away. There are times the kids break down. My husband lost his job. He had to transfer to Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is 8 hours from here. How can he be that far away? And you see him for like 16 hours on the weekend. It's really tough. It's tough on all of us, our whole family.
When I read online about Joe Biden commuting from Delaware, it reminded me a lot of the drive back and forth that I've had to do going from Bowling Green back to Lordstown. And he went through the same thing to make it home to his kids.
I do love what Joe Biden says about the dignity of work. All work has dignity. How many people think about janitors, right? The most I had ever made was $9.50. I became involved in union labor. So I go into the boss's office, right, and I'm like, you made a mistake. This is $12 an hour. And he looked at me and said, you're in the union.
You are literally, not figuratively, the backbone of America. You're the ones who actually built this country. Ordinary, hard-working people, the middle class built America. And unions built the middle class.
If it wasn't for the union, I know one thing, I definitely wouldn't be sitting here today. I know he's going to back union labor, and I think that's most important during this election.
Joe Biden is good for Johnstown because he'll protect our labor laws and our union rights.
Job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to hold your head up. Like millions of hard-working Americans, they're not looking for a handout. They're just looking for a fair shot. By the way, that's a good thing. It's still running. I see the world from where I grew up in Scranton. I think this whole campaign gets down to Park Avenue versus Scranton, Park Avenue versus Johnstown. So I promise you this, I see you, I hear you, I respect you, I grew up with you. I promise you this, I'll fight for you.
Please welcome Senator Bob Casey.
Stand right here. Now, before I take my mask all the way off, you know what my mask says? Vote, vote, vote. All right, don't have a lot of time because you want to hear from Vice President Joe Biden, but I got someone to introduce before that. But I want to ask this crowd one question right now. Are you ready to win for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? All right. That sounded like a yes. Now, I want to thank everyone in Luzerne County who's here, everyone from northeastern Pennsylvania and beyond, because this crowd and this enthusiasm tells us that we're ready to vote and we're ready to win Pennsylvania for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and all the Democrats. There is no question that most Americans and most Pennsylvanians are concerned about a lot of big issues, but I'll just mention two. Which candidate has the plan to tackle this virus? It's only one candidate, Joe Biden. The other issue, the second issue that's related to it, there's only one candidate in this race who has a plan to build our economy back better, to create millions of good-paying union jobs, and that's Joe Biden. I'll mention one more issue, and then I'm getting off the stage with an introduction. One issue, because we're in Luzerne County. Last time I checked, in this county, there are about 75,000 people who have Medicare. The Trump administration has proposed cuts to Medicare every year they've been in office. Let's send them a message on Election Day that we're not going to cut Medicare like the Republicans want to cut it every single year. So Luzerne County, I don't have to tell you who the next person is on this stage because you know him as one of the greatest recording artists in our country. He's a Grammy award-winning singer-songwriter. What you may not know, though, you may not know that John Bon Jovi also has done so much for our state to fight against hunger, to fight against homelessness and poverty, and to build affordable housing in Pennsylvania and in a lot of other places around the country. So we want to give John Bon Jovi and those with him on this stage a great Northeastern Pennsylvania welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, John Bon Jovi!
Good afternoon.
I was trying to get my daughter on FaceTime. She's in San Francisco. Let me see if I can get her. Say, baby. Maybe we can say hello.
You want to take this from me, Senator?
Yes, that'd be great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I spent 20 years trying to get out of this place, looking for something I couldn't replace, running away from the only thing I've ever known. And like a blind dog without a bone, I was a gypsy lost in the twilight zone. I hijacked the Raymond crash into a battleground. Been there that night, I ain't looking back on the seas I've sown. 7 times I've spent too much time on the telephone. He said you can't go home. Who says he can't go home? There's only one place they call me one of their own. A hometown boy, born a Rolling Stone. He says you can't go home. He says you can't go back. All around the world as a matter of fact. Only one place left I wanna go. He says you can't go home. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. I went as far as I could to find a new face. In one of these lines, I put a race. I've lived 1,000,000 miles, memories on that road. Every step I take, I'm not alone. Take the home from the boy, not the boy from his home. These are my streets, the only life I've ever known. He says you can't go home. He says he can't go home. There's only one place they call me one of their own. Hometown boy, born a Rolling Stone. He says you can't go. He says you can't go back. All around the world as a matter of fact. Only one place left I wanna go. He says you can't go. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. He says you can't go. It's alright. It's alright. Don't matter where you are, don't matter where you go. 1,000,000 miles away is just a mile up the road. Take it in, take it with you when you go. He says you can't go. He says you can't go back. Been all around the world as a matter of fact. There's only one place left I wanna go. He says you can't go home. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. He says you can't go home. It's alright. It's alright. He says you can't go home. Jamie used to work on the docks. The heat went on shy. It's down on his lucky tub. So tough. Gina works down all day, working for a man. She brings home a pay for love. For love. We say we gotta hold on to what we got. Doesn't make a difference, make it or not. Got each other, that's a lot for love. We give it a shot, oh, if we fail. Take my hand, we'll make it, I swear, yeah. Living on a prayer. Time me through the 6-string hand hop. He's holding in what he used to make it talk so tough. So tough. Gina dreaded running away. She cries every night, Tommy whispers, it's okay. Someday they say we gotta hold on to what we got. Doesn't make a difference, make it or not. Got each other, that's a lot for love. We give it a shot, oh, if we fail. Take my hand, we'll make it, I swear. gotta hold on, ready or not. You live for the fight, 'cause it's all about you. You gotta say, whoa, we get with there, yeah. Living on a prayer. Take my hand and pick it out, swear, yeah. Living on a prayer. Whoa, we get with there. Take my hand. Swear, yeah. Thank you. It's really very, very nice to be here. Thank you. It's a little chilly, but it's very nice. I wrote my comments down because I've never played at a drive-in with all the horns honking and stuff, so it's a little bit different. But when I think of empathy, character, and experience, it's these three words that I think when I think of Joe Biden. These days, it's always red state, blue state, the me state, you state. I think that Joe Biden believes in the United States of America. These days on the radio and at the rallies and the TV, I always hear a lot of me, 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 but I really do believe that Joe believes in the power of we. I believe that Joe knows that masks are not a sign of weakness. They're a sign of strength and respect. Respect for your elders, for your neighbors, for your families, for your friends, and for a stranger that you might not have met yet. If you want to affect change and you can't do what you do, you can do what you can. Something as small as wearing a mask starts the ripple. Something as important as casting your vote next Tuesday is about the future of these United States that I so believe in. After we get Joe into office, that's when the healing starts. Because we all have to come together and remember that under the great stars and stripes, we are all one United States of America. This is called Do What You Can. 1, 2. Tonight they're tucking down the border, and they boarded up the schools. Small towns are rolling up the sidewalks, one last paycheck coming through. I know you're feeling kind of nervous, we're all a little bit confused. Nothing's the same, this ain't a game, we've gotta make it through. When you can't do what you do, you do what you can. This ain't my prayer, it's just a thought I'm wanting to send. Round here we bend, but don't break. Down here we all understand. When you can't do what you do, you do what you can. The chicken farm from Arkansas bought workers PPE. Not before 500 more had succumbed to this disease. Honest men and honest women working for an honest wage. I've got 100.1 fever. We still got bills to pay. When you can't do what you do what you can. This ain't not fair, it's just the thought I'm wanting to send. Round here we bend but don't break. Down here we all understand. You can't do what you do what you can. They built a hospital on East Meadow in Central Park last night. Doctors, nurses, truckers, grocery store clerks, man in the front line. I saw a Red Cross on the Hudson. They turned on the Broadway lights. Another ambulance screams by. Here by the grace of God, go by. Although I'll keep my social distance, what the world needs is a hug. Till we find the vaccination, there's no substitute for love. So love yourself and love your family. Love your neighbor and your friend. Anytime we love the stranger, they're just a friend you ain't met yet. When you can't do what you do what you can. This ain't not fair, it's just a thought I'm wanting to send. Round here we bend but don't break. Down here we all understand. You can't do what you do, then do what you can. When you can't do what you do what you can. Thank you. Thank you all very much. I know you won't forget, but get out and vote. Thank you. God bless you. But goodbye.
As a reminder, today's event has been set up to adhere to social distancing guidelines as outlined by health experts in the state of Pennsylvania. Thank you for being here.
So much to You got to hold on. You gotta hold on. You gotta hold on.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Let's go back, let's go way on, way back when. I didn't even know you couldn't have been too much more than 10. I ain't no psychiatrist, I ain't no doctor with degrees, but it don't take too much time to see what you're doing to me. You better think about what you're trying to do to me, yeah. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Oh, freedom.
And now, everyone, please welcome Jill Biden, Bill Kane, and Joe Biden.
On a night like this, one prayer, one wish. Step out of the edge, it's worth the risk. Life is limitless, 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 limitless. Wake up, everybody wake up. Morning comes, you do it all again. You know the song that's on repeat. Round your shoes, can't find your feet. Grab your wallet and your
Wow. Luzerne, what a great welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. I love Pennsylvania, especially Luzerne County. 4 days after our son Bo's funeral, I watched Joe shave and put on his suit, and I saw him steel himself in the mirror, take a breath, put his shoulders back, and walk out into a world empty of our son. He went back to work as your vice president. That's just who Joe is. Joe has faced unimaginable tragedies, but his purpose has always driven him forward. His strength of will is unstoppable, and his faith is unshakable, because it's not in politicians or political parties or even himself. It's in the providence of God, in the potential of our country. His faith is in you, in us. Through it all, he learned how to heal a broken family. It's the same way you heal a country, with love and understanding and small acts of kindness, with bravery, with unwavering hope. Joe has spent his entire career listening and bringing people together. He will be a president for all Americans. And he has a plan to calm the chaos of Donald Trump's America. But he can't do it without you. Right now, there are so many who want to tell us that our country is hopelessly divided, that our differences are irreconcilable, that our communities are fractured beyond repair. And beneath that is another message. Your voice can't fix it. Your vote doesn't matter. But that's not who we are, is it, Luzerne County? In this pandemic, We are supporting one another. We're finding mercy and grace in the moments that we might have once taken for granted. We're seeing that our differences are precious and that our similarities are infinite. Democrat and Republican, rural and urban, north and south, east and west, coast to coast, you, our communities, are showing that the heart of this nation still beats with kindness and courage. We don't agree on everything, and we know we don't have to. We can still love and respect one another, right? Now, as most of you may know, I'm a Philly girl, and I know that not all Pennsylvanians agree when it comes to Flyers versus Penguins, Eagles versus Steelers, Wawa versus Sheets, but there are two areas we can all be on the same page. Number one, we all want to see that we want to beat the Patriots. And number two is that we are all ready for Joe Biden. So Pennsylvania, are you ready to get this done? This is it. This is it. There are no do-overs. In this election, we have to believe that our communities are stronger than the challenges we face, because they are. We have to believe that our votes matter, because they do. And we have to show up right now, put our shoulders back, and work like we have never worked before. So will you join us? Will you help us show that our country will never settle for less than our highest aspirations? So, Pennsylvania, Luzerne County, will you stand with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? Because when you do, I just know we are going to win. So thank you to our friend John Bon Jovi for his support, and wow, wasn't that a great performance? Thank you to all of you for showing up now when it matters the most. And thank you for your faith in an idea that's bigger than all of us. And that is that we will build a better nation, Pennsylvania, because we're going to do this together. So now I'd like to bring our next guest to the stage, Bill Kane. Bill, okay, thanks. Bill, I often say that educators are the best organizers. We know how to make something out of nothing. We fight for our communities, and we know when to use our teacher voice. And I know that you are proving me right today. So, Bill, my fellow educator, come on up.
Once you dig in, you'll find you coming out the other side. And once you dig in, you'll find you'll have yourself a good time. Wake up and shake it, you can...
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to be here representing educators and support professionals from northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm a proud member of the Pennsylvania State Education Association and a proud union member. Our members know that Joe Biden is our best hope to empower unions so that they can, in turn, restore a thriving middle class to this great nation. I have been an educator and children's advocate for 30 years. I began my career working with at-risk youth who had become wards of the juvenile justice system. It was there I learned that more than anything else, the cycle of poverty was the main source of crime. Some years later, I worked with children with mental health diagnoses. The program allowed me to work with children at home and in their school settings. And during this experience, I learned that a carefully planned, well-funded, it takes a village approach could reach at-risk youth and could yield incredible results. I learned that when educators, support professionals, and parents worked as a team, that almost no problem was insurmountable. Later still, I worked for an alternative school that sought to transition students who had been placed into institutional settings and transition them back into their neighborhood public schools. And it was there I learned that even the most at-risk kids were capable of changing the trajectory of their lives if they were simply given the resources, encouragement, and opportunity to overcome their youthful indiscretions. I believe that Joe Biden cares about children from all walks of life and will work to ensure that all children are given a fighting chance. And after that, if necessary, he'll give them another chance. For the last 20 years or so, I've been a public school teacher. I have worked in a poor rural community, the inner city, and in the suburbs. In each environment, I learned how incredibly resilient and inspiring the next generation can be. My experience has led me to believe that our children can achieve anything if we remove barriers to their success. I believe that Joe Biden, as president, will offer the brightest among us the resources, technology, and programs to guarantee that American innovation will live on for generations. I believe that Joe Biden will remove barriers to our children's success. Under the current administration, desperately needed funding would be redirected to elite private schools and for-profit schools. The most vulnerable among us will never benefit from these policies, but wealthy campaign donors might see their tuition bills reduced a bit. I believe Joe Biden will fight for additional funding for our most vulnerable children, children who would be denied the hope of an equal education if the current administration's plans come to fruition. Public education is important to me, but it should be important to all Americans. Public education allows children from all walks of life to hope for a better financial future, while at the same time fostering curiosity and nurturing outlets for creativity. Public education is the foundation of the American dream. It is the greatest engine of economic change in the history of our country and has helped to lift countless children out of poverty. Joe Biden has been a staunch supporter of public education throughout his entire political career. 2 months ago, I had the privilege of participating in a virtual town hall with Dr. Jill Biden. Dr. Biden is a respected educator who has not only seen firsthand the benefits of public schools, but has also witnessed the impact of inadequate school funding and legislation that hurts our students. Joe Biden will prioritize education and will equip teachers with the tools we need to help our kids learn and grow into successful, informed citizens. He is a true champion of public education. And he's a true champion for our students, and he will work to ensure that all children have access to high-quality public education. That is why I will vote for Joe Biden, and why every educator in America should support his return to national leadership. We are excited to have Joe back home in Northeast PA. And as educators, we will be happier when his new address is 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my sincere pleasure to introduce the next President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Hello, Dallas. It's good to be almost home. Jill's a Philly girl, but I'm a Scranton guy. And I like Luzerne County. Bill, thank you for that introduction. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you must be freezing out there. You don't even have a coat on, child. What's the matter with you? Jump in the car. Look, folks, I thank you for everything you do in the classroom, old buddy. You know, there's an expression. They always talk about the children. They're all our children. They're the kite strings that lift our national ambitions aloft. That's why teachers are so critically important, because the future's in every one of those classrooms. And so, folks, we owe our teachers a debt of gratitude, even the ones that didn't give me a great grade. I'm only joking. Look, it's good to see so many friends. Bobby Casey, one of the finest guys I've known, and Matt Cartwright, a good man. We've been friends for years. We need to send them both back. And by the way, we also need to elect Gary Wegman for the folks of next door district in the 9th, and Lee Griffin in the 12th district. And Lee, by the way, went to high school here. So welcome back, old buddy. Look, I want to thank you all, and all the local and state officials are here today, many of whom have been with us since the very beginning of this campaign. And I want to thank a guy who's been a friend for me for a long time and gone anywhere I've ever asked him. John Bon Jovi, thank you, pal. Thank you, friend. You're a national treasure. You've always captured the heart and soul of America. And folks, that's what's at stake in this election, the soul of America. 10 days left to go. As my high school and college coach used to say in football, it's go time. It's go time now. It may come down to Pennsylvania. And I want to know, I'll let you know, I believe in you. Home. Home is where your character is etched. Your values are set. Where your views of the world and your place in it begin to be formed. For me, it was 2446 North Washington Avenue in Scranton, Pennsylvania, at my grandpa's table. My grandpa was named Ambrose Finnegan. At his kitchen table, I learned a lot of basic lessons. One, money does not determine your wealth. I used to say, Joey, nobody's better than you, but you're no better than anybody else. Everybody's treated equal. Folks, the lesson that is shaped by my Catholic faith and my dad who'd say, Joey, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. I swear to God, when he lost his job in Scranton, and Cole died early on back then, moved down to Claymont, Delaware, he used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about your place in the community. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. I've never forgotten that. But how many people today, hard-working folks like around my kitchen table, can look at their kids and say with certainty, everything's going to be okay, and mean it? Over 55% of the American people say if they got a bill for more than $400 they didn't expect in a month, they'd have to sell something or borrow the money. Times are hard. Unemployment is way up. And people are worried about making the next rent payment or the mortgage payment. 20 million people worried about whether they can make next month's mortgage payment. Where their health care is going to be ripped away in the middle of a pandemic. Worried about sending the kids to school and worried about not sending them to school. You see, folks at the top, they're doing a whole lot better. And they wonder, who's looking out for me? Who's looking out for the average person out there? People I grew up with in Scranton and Claymont, Delaware. Donald Trump's presidency, guess what? You know,
More than 220,000 people are dead in America because of COVID-19. Yesterday was the highest number of new cases since it all began, 85,000 new cases in one day. 1,000 people a day dying. When he was told a while ago it passed 1,000 people a day, he looked at the camera. Remember what he said? He said, "It is what it is." Well, it is what it is because he is who he is. That's why it is what it is. Yesterday was the worst day we've had. Yet, in our debate on Thursday night, Trump was still saying, we're rounding the corner. It's going away. We're learning to live with it. As I told him, we're not learning to live it, we're learning to die with it because he's doing nothing. And folks, there's a dark winter ahead. Experts say we're going to lose nearly 200,000 lives nationwide in the next few months if we don't step up. Because he cares more about the stock market than he does about you. Because he refuses to follow science. It's estimated. These are facts. His own people tell him. If we wear these masks over the next few months, we could save 100,000 lives. You know what's really sad about all this? The president knew back at the end of January how deadly this virus was, and he hid it from the country. But here's what he did. You know, remember when he went on, he decided he was going to convince Bob Woodward what a smart guy he was. So he went on, yeah, smart guy. Stable genius. But folks, here's what he did. He went on record as saying that he knew how dangerous it was. Knew 7 times dangerous than the flu. But what did he do? Did he tell you? Did he tell us? Did he warn the American people? No, he didn't. But he'd tell you what his administration did. They gave Wall Street heads up, according to the New York Times. He didn't tell us, but they told his Wall Street friends. That's why they made so much money by, quote, selling short, because he knew what was coming. He sold us short. That's what happened. And then he tried to claim that he didn't want to panic the American people. The American people don't panic. Donald Trump panicked. And folks, he still had no plan. All he can do is double down on his Park Avenue way of looking at the world. Before the pandemic, he handed out $1.5 trillion in tax giveaways to the super wealthy and large corporations. And now, even when 30 million Americans have lost their jobs and lost hours, he thinks the way to get the American economy back on track, and you probably don't even know this, is to give gigantic multi-million-dollar tax cuts to corporations and the wealthy. And he wants to do it again. Since the start of this pandemic, and this even startled me, according to Forbes, since the start of the pandemic, billionaires in America made another $600 billion. Actually, it's $700 billion. But Donald Trump can't get his own Republican Party to even deliver for hard-working folks. Folks, he thinks $15 an hour minimum wage is too much for essential workers. He thinks unions don't matter. He stopped overtime pay, costing hourly workers $1.2 billion last year. He said you can no longer deduct union dues. And he talks about being for the working guy. 4 years in, he still hasn't gotten legislation passed to protect pensions or working people. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy doesn't get it. He's proposed a plan that would set Social Security, as the Social Security actuary said, would bankrupt Social Security by 2023 if you reelect him, he says. He's been weak and chaotic with China on trade All he's ended up doing is open the doors to big banks in China for American banks to be able to do business in China. He contributed to the surge of bankruptcies and American farmers. Look, I'll do what he's unable to do. I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure, isolate, and punish China. Folks, we've lost more manufacturing jobs in Pennsylvania and across the country than any time in recent history. And if President Trump and his Republicans don't have time to deliver an economic relief for working families and small businesses, then why, in the middle of a crisis, do they have time to confirm a Supreme Court justice so they can knock out Obamacare? I'll tell you why. He wants to wipe it off the books because his nominee has said that they're going to strike down the law before she was picked. Look, if they get their way, more than 20 million of you, 20 million Americans will lose their coverage, including nearly 1 million Pennsylvanians. 100 million Americans with pre-existing conditions, including 5.3 million in Pennsylvania, will no longer be covered. Complications from COVID will become the next pre-existing conditions, allowing insurance companies to jack up your coverage. And women are going to be charged a hell of a lot more for their health care just because they're women. Look, Donald Trump thinks health care is a privilege. I think it's a right. Look, but nothing is more offensive than the way he's spoken about those who served our nation in uniform. He calls them losers and suckers. Well, how many of you served? How many of your parents served? Luzerne and Lackawanna County have a proud history of defending this nation. Folks, my son Bo was a major, served in Iraq, won the Bronze Star, the Conspicuous Service Medal. He came home decorated. He wasn't a loser. He wasn't a sucker. He was a patriot. Just like your sons and daughters, your parents and grandparents. I can't believe it. No wonder 6 generals who worked in his administration left him and said he doesn't deserve to be commander-in-chief of the United States. No president has ever had that happen. Frankly, I've dealt with guys like Trump my whole life, so have you. Guys who look down on you because they have a lot of money. Guys who think they're better than you. Guys who inherit everything in life and then squander it. Guys who stiff electricians and plumbers and contractors working on their hotels and casinos and golf courses. Guys who avoid paying their own taxes they owe because they figure, as he said last time out, it's because he's smart. He's able to play the system, pay $750 in taxes being a billionaire. Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys. Well, they leave the rest of us to pick up the tab. Now we find Trump has secret bank accounts in China. I didn't make that up. That comes right out of the New York Times. Secret bank account in China, where he paid 50 times more in taxes in Beijing than he did in the United States of America. Look, that his hundreds of millions of dollars, $400 million in debt in the coming few years, who does he owe it to? Why is it? I released 23 years of my tax returns. Why hasn't he released one of his? What in the hell is he hiding? Look, you know, I gotta admit, maybe it's the Scranton in me. I got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I read that if I got elected president, I'd only be the second guy in this century, in the last century, that in fact didn't go to an Ivy League school. Well, what the hell does that say about my state school I went to? Like it didn't mean I don't belong? My guess is a lot of you have felt the same way in your lives. I say it's about time a state school guy gets to go to the Oval Office. Because you know what? If I'm sitting there, you'll be sitting there with me. You and I know who really built this country. It wasn't Wall Street. It wasn't CEOs. The working people, middle-class people built it, and unions built the middle class. Look, we know we're so much better than this, so much better, and we can do anything in this country. Look, it starts with my plan to deal with this pandemic responsible. Bring the country together around testing, tracing, masking, social distancing, not politicizing the race for vaccine, but planning for its safe and equitable distribution, providing funding and protective gear for national standards for schools and businesses to open safely, bringing together Republicans and Democrats to deliver relief to working families and schools and businesses. As I've said before, I'm not going to shut down the economy. I'm going to shut down the virus and build the economy. Folks, this is all within our power. We can build back better than before. We can build back better than before. That's who we are. You know, an independent analysis on Wall Street, of all places, Moody's, a Wall Street firm, projected that my economic plan will create 18.6 million jobs in 4 years, 7 million more than his, and $1 trillion more in economic growth. Look, it's pretty basic. I'm not going to raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400 grand a year. But I tell you what, I'm going to start asking the wealthy and corporations to begin to pay their fair share. It's time working people, middle-class people got tax relief to help them buy their first home, pay for the health care premiums, child care, caring for their aged loved ones. We'll do more than just praise our essential workers. We will pay our essential workers. We're going to make health care affordable for every American. We're going to build on the Affordable Care Act. Keep your private insurance if you like it, but make sure everybody, the 20 million people who got health insurance that they didn't have before because of it, are able to keep it. We're going to increase the ability for you to be able to have much lower drug prices. We're going to lower drug prices by 60%. You know how you do that? Just allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. That'll bring them down by 60%. We're going to make sure you keep your prescriptions and pre-existing conditions. I'll protect your Social Security and Medicare. And if I keep going, you're going to freeze your fingers off. Well, look, we can create 1 million union jobs. Union jobs. Prevailing wage, rebuilding American manufacturing, and enforcing Buy in America plan. Look, every single contract that will go out under my administration that we have put out will have to have products that are made in America. Nothing else than that. It's estimated that'll create 4 million new jobs. Folks, it's time. But we're getting there, man. Hang on. Hang on. Here's the deal. Look, we're going to move in a position that we can change a lot. And by the way, let me get something straight here. In coal country, I will not ban fracking, period. I'll protect Pennsylvania jobs, period. No matter how many times Donald Trump says it. Unlike Donald Trump, I don't think big oil companies need a handout of federal government. We're going to get rid of the $40 billion fossil fuel subsidies, and we're going to invest it in clean energy and carbon capture. Look, going back to schools, if we just make the 91 corporations that didn't pay a single penny in taxes pay 15%. That raises $40 billion. That allows us to send every single person qualified to community college free. It allows us to send every single person who can get into a 4-year state university go free if they make less than $125,000. Look, Donald Trump hasn't delivered on a damn thing he said he'd do. He hadn't delivered on infrastructure. He talked in 2017, 18, 19, 20. He's going to give us an infrastructure plan. He hadn't done a damn thing for our roads or our bridges are crumbling, just as climate change is accelerating and more frequent extremes and weather events. Not just wildfires in California and hurricanes along the coast, but here in Luzerne County, with flooding along the Susquehanna. We can do something about it, but we've got to come together, which gets me to the last part of this election. The stakes are high. Barack and I worked hard to earn and win your votes in 2008 and 2012. And I tell you what, it wasn't, I thought it was great to see him again out on the trail for me, quite frankly. But I understand why. Some people voted for Donald Trump. They believe they weren't seen or being respected or heard. Trump ran around saying he represents the forgotten man and woman in this country. I get it. But then he got elected and he immediately forgot the forgotten man. Remember what Donald Trump said when COVID hit? 200,000 deaths. He said if you take out the blue states with Democratic governors and just look at the red states with Republican governors, we're doing quite well. First of all, that's not true. And secondly, what in the hell would a president say? I'm not going to do anything for Pennsylvania or Michigan or Wisconsin, Democratic states. I'm only going to help red states. Where's this guy come from? Look, folks, I don't see the presidency that way. I don't see America that way. This has to change. It'll change with me. You know, you'll be seen and you're heard and respected by me. Our campaign is a broad coalition. It welcomes Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. If elected president, there will be no red states or blue states, only the United States. I was reminded of that earlier this month when I went to the sacred ground in Gettysburg to speak. Abraham Lincoln told us, a house divided can't stand. Well, folks, today trust is ebbing. Hope seems elusive. Instead of healing, we're being ripped apart. I refuse to let that happen. I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'll govern as an American president. I'll work as hard for those who don't support me as those who do. That's the president's job. A duty to care, a duty to heal. And you, too, have a sacred duty. That's to vote. It matters. Pennsylvania matters. So please vote. Get out the vote. Visit iwillvote.com/PA. Return your ballot as soon as possible. And make sure everyone you know does. Folks, you know, I'm more optimistic about America's future than I've been since I've been involved in politics. We're the only country in the world that's come out of every crisis stronger than we went in. There's not a damn thing America can't do when we decide to do it together. Folks, John Kennedy said, when he promised to send us to the moon, he said, answered the unasked question. Why? He said, because we refuse to postpone. This is the United States of America. There is nothing beyond our capacity. There's no limit to our future. The only thing that can rip America apart is America itself. Look, folks, I'll close by saying everybody knows who Donald Trump is. We've got to show them who we are. We choose hope over fear, unity over division, science over fiction, and truth over lies. Folks, it's time to stand up and take our democracy back. May God bless you, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Go vote. Vote. Thank you.
Limitless, 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 limitless. Wake up, everybody, wake up. Morning comes, you do it all again. You know the song that's on repeat. Round your shoes, can't find your feet. Grab your wallet and your keys, better not forget to breathe. Sweating till you're soaking, don't let them see you choking. A teardrop in the sea, trying to keep your head above water. You're trying to keep your head above water. On a night like this, one prayer, one wish. Step out on the edge, it's worth the risk. Life is limitless, 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 limitless. Life is limitless, limitless, limitless. Let's figure out what it's all about. When the sun comes up and the sun goes down, is there something